So here we are at Farley and Ferry Realty, and today we are working via Zoom, of course, videoing in compliance with COVID-19. And we are continuing to work with our real estate platform and promote our properties and close transactions. And of course, we have a guest speaker here with us today, very knowledgeable, experienced more lender. We have Greg Malamut from Greentree Mortgage here to talk a little bit about financing, how the market is moving and transactions are closing.
Thank you, Mary Lou, for the introduction, and thanks for having me on today. So what I wanted to do is let everyone know mortgage companies, we're still operating. Title companies, they're still operating. We're still closing deals. People are still out there shopping. It's definitely an active time in the market. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I've seen going on. I've talked to several different people from Blackstone, Wells Fargo, UBS, and other investment firms. And I'm having flashbacks to 2008 microeconomics classes. But the one consistent point that everyone seems to say in the investment market is that things are going to rebound. Okay, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, a lot of short-term volatility, but the fundamentals and the economics behind most of these companies are still unchanged. Howard Marks from Oak Tree Capital, he said the bottom is the day before the recovery begins. It's impossible to know when we've reached the bottom. So there's no time to know exactly when to buy, okay? A lot of people, before they want to invest, before they want to buy in the real estate, the stock market, want to know, hey, I'm at the absolute bottom. It's impossible to know that. He said there's value, there's no better time than today.
Agreement with Greg. I monitor the market throughout the day, and even in the last 2 days there's more confidence, and I know that business and people want to get back to work. We're a productive company and very progressive in our thinking, and we're showing properties remotely. We are closing deals. We are finding financing for our clients. Our agents are pushing through because we're resilient, and in our nature being Americans, and we want to see things happen. So we're home, but we're still doing the best we can and trying to stay within compliance so that this virus dissipates and we can move forward. I think that the market will come back stronger than ever. Because again, no one wants to be held back with their goals, and we know how to move forward in adversity. So, the lenders are all talking to people. They are lending money. Things may be moving a bit slower, but they are happening. And I think the fact that the happening is what's so important right now.
Exactly. And I agree with that. So it's one of those things, there is uncertainty out there, but the Fed is trying to step in as much as possible and, keep economic growth going. So they announced that stimulus package last night passed. And what that is, it's going to be $1,200 to most individuals. There's income limits, there's other restrictions involved, but the goal with that is to help boost the economy. They understand a lot of people are laid off and they want to help. So the goal with the whole macroeconomics of it is that by increasing spending, lowering interest rates, it's going to help the economy grow. When money is cheaper to borrow, more people spend money. More people will be refinancing, buying homes, etc. And that increase is going to help the economy overall. Overall, the market's in a better place than when it was in 2007 when things did crash. Right now, unemployment was at 4%. So that's better when things were previously. And there's just a lot of other opportunity out there right now.
And the refi transactions, they are closing at the title companies. Everyone's pretty much still working remotely, but their refis are happening as well, right?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where the mortgage market takes some time to adjust. So when the Fed makes an announcement, last night, it doesn't reflect all of a sudden today, 12 hours later. These things take time. We need to see where exactly the market's going, but all indications seem to be that the Fed is trying to help out to, boost the economy, keep rates low, encourage spending, which is definitely good signs for our industry.
I agree. 3 items that I think are so important is, keeping yourself centered. I'm all about working out and getting that endorphins going, but I think it's so important right now to keep yourself centered and to control your financing. And then most importantly, focus on your goals. Don't get distracted by a lot of negative conversation and a lot of opinions and rumors. It's just so important to pay attention to the news, but again, stay focused on what your goals are.
Exactly. And one thing to add to that is anyone who has a financial advisor, the first thing they're going to do with you is set up a plan. Okay. Financial planning is the key to overall wealth, as any advisor will tell you. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the market, throughout, your entire life. There's volatility. And as long as you have a plan in place, you'll be ready. One of the keys is saving money, having money planned for retirement. So when tough times do come, you're prepared.
Absolutely. It just makes you stronger, more resilient. And, there's always a silver lining in everything. Across the country, people are coming together to fight, this virus and building better relationships. I mean, it's a perfect time to reach out to your clients and see how they are and, learn more about them and do things, remotely, but more socially. And I think the social impact is very important right now because a lot of people feel isolated and disconnected. And, just by reaching out to them and letting them know, look, people they're okay. And they are, things are happening. So, anything we can talk to you about, please call us. Or, just kind of lending and, an open ear, I think is really important right now as well.
Exactly. And I agree with that. And one thing to touch on as well is within Atlantic County, there's two kinds of buyers. There's the buyers who are buying, expensive second homes on beachfront property. And then there's first-time buyers, more on the mainland. And obviously it's two different kind of clientele. One thing that, first-time buyers more on the mainland is, a lot of these people, they're living paycheck to paycheck. This potential unemployment's really going to impact them. So one piece of advice that, those kind of buyers is really to reach out to your creditors, reach out to who is servicing your loans currently, and see if they have any kind of, programs in place to help during this time. It's one of those things where, the entire economy is feeling it. So all of these creditors, they know that buyers and, people that are borrowing money from them, they're going to have some issues currently, and they want to work with you. They're willing to help. But if you don't reach out, they're not going to know you're having issues. And if you don't get this documented, in a few years, if something was to happen, you might have an issue. So any kind of communication you want to document as well, and, just keep a time log of everything.
So important, because it's true. The company, the mortgage lenders, the banks, they all work with forgiveness. They all work with relief. And they're, they're individuals too that want to make sure their clients are, in control and informed. And it's the perfect time. Again, communicate. I think it's so important right now. Don't isolate yourself and feel that you're in this alone. And you're having a challenge paying bills. You need to reach out and talk to people because everybody will. It's so important right now.
Package only got approved last night, so we just don't have guidelines in place yet of what's going to happen. The rule previously was for instance, if you were a salaried employee and you were still getting paid during this, we could still get you approved. But if you were someone who was working as a server at the Hard Rock, and you're no longer getting money, you're all the casinos basically laid off the people. So anyone that got laid off, we have to wait until they're back on the job to get approved. That was our policy as of last week. So if they lost their job, they'd have to be back working a job. So one thing that could happen is we would issue a mortgage denial. And with a mortgage denial, you're entitled to get your deposit back. So we can't get you approved for the financing.
Because with the loans, before you close on a lot of loans, you check their employment, right?
Exactly. Yep. So what happens is initially we do a verification of employment. So when the process first starts, when they first sign our paperwork, we reach out to their employer, and their employer fills out how long they've been working there, how much they make, things like that. And then within 10 days prior to closing, we reach out again and we do another verbal verification. And what that says is just whether or not they're still employed. So with that verbal verification, a lot of people would then say, No, they're now laid off. If that's the issue. The amount of new purchase leads is definitely way down in the past week. I've had a couple of deals that have died in the past week or two. People that worked in the casino, one guy he does like HVAC work and he just doesn't feel comfortable buying right now. I've had a seller take their house off the market and now wants to refinance instead of selling.
And are you guys still doing refinancing, right?
Yeah. We're definitely doing refi still, absolutely.
What are the rates today?
It's a good question. I get that question like 5 times a day.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where it depends. Okay. So rates depend on multiple factors. It depends on your credit score, your loan to value, your loan program, things like that. As of today, I just priced someone out earlier for a VA 30-year loan. They're about 3.375. Excellent credit. I would tell people, mid threes. And the whole thing is there's just uncertainty now in the world. And as things settle down over the next, few weeks, our rate should settle down more. Typically, mortgages, they don't bounce around that much. In a normal economic state, things move slowly, maybe an eighth here or there. In the past few weeks, they've jumped up a point, down a point. Even intraday, things are changing so much. Every time there's a new press conference with the president, things move around. It's just uncertainty. And that's why having, the overall financial plan is really the key. Okay. Because if you're someone who's paying 5%, it's going to make sense for you to refinance at 4 or 3. But if you're someone who's currently paying 3.5%, you're probably better off waiting to see what happens in the economy before, you pull the trigger.
So you still suggest to individuals who has over 5% mortgages to consider refinancing when things are settled down?
Correct. And the whole, one of the selling points as well is it never hurts to have a consultation, to have a talk with, a mortgage professional and go over your options. Whether it's myself or someone else, these people are willing to help. We can break down for you, hey, here's where things are currently. Here's what you're paying. By doing this refinance, you're going to save X amount over 30 years. You're going to save Y on your monthly payment. Here's how it works. One thing people might not understand is, let's say you paid your loan off for 3 years already. When you do a refinance, you're putting a new loan on there. If you do a 30-year mortgage, you have 3 more years now to pay. But the good thing is you're typically going to save a ton of money over those 30 years. So you have to understand whether or not it makes sense. And speaking to a mortgage professional, they'll be able to help you and understand what your options are, figure out, what your goals are. Oftentimes with a refinance, you have to understand how long you plan to stay in the house. There's cost to do a refinance. Any mortgage company, there's going to be fees. There's going to be commitment fees, appraisal fees, title insurance. The county clerk's office has to record the mortgage. So you have to understand when your break-even point is. It might take you 2 or 3 years to break even. And if you're going to sell a house in 3 or 4 years, it might not make sense to do the refinance. It's a lot of paperwork, it's time, it's effort. And, if you're not going to save much money because you have different life plans in place, then it doesn't make sense to refinance. But if you're going to be in this house 30 years, I can tell you by paying this $3,000 refinance fee, you're going to save $50,000, and it's a no-brainer.
Or tips to do or not to do if they still continue. So
my advice to anyone, looking to purchase, it's still a great time. If you look back to 12 years ago, 2008, and where home prices were, we're still down tremendously. I was looking at a house today in 2008. It was bought for $280,000. It's on the market for $159,000. Okay, so if you look at things like that, it's still an excellent time. As I referenced earlier, we never know when the true bottom is. Okay, so is it possible that in a week from now the price could drop $5,000? Yeah, it's certainly possible. But the thing with making a home purchase is, you're going to have this item, this house, for a long time. The typical home buyer expects to have the house for 30 years. That's the reason why their 30-year mortgage is in place. And over time, I think things are going to rebound. I think things will continue to appreciate and go up in value. And if this is a home that you and your loved ones are going to be spending every single day in, the time is now. it definitely makes sense to find the house that you want to buy.
You love to spend time in, right?
Totally.
Especially nowadays.
I agree with Greg too, because the fact of the matter is, if you love the property and you have the right professionals around you, you know, for instance, you go to the lender, you go to Greg and he tells you you're qualified and it makes economic sense, and you have a realtor who's astute and knowledgeable and leads you in the right direction, you're still making a substantial investment at a time when, you know, the prices are attractive. So not only are the prices attractive, but the rates are super enticing. So it's a great time to pull the trigger and move forward and kind of do the American thing. You know,
there's no doubt that you're going to find sellers who are eager to sell right now. So there's going to be great investment opportunity for not just people looking to buy and live in the house. There's going to be great opportunity as well for investors to have these long-term holds as you know, people look to sell.
Closing, we really enjoyed having Greg Malamut of Greentree Mortgage here to guide us through this challenging time as we jump the hurdles. And it's so important that we're all, again, working remotely and in compliance, but pushing through the market, getting the proper guidance. And it's all about who you surround yourself and the experts that you hire and consult with. So again, Greg, we're thrilled to have worked with you today. And thank you so much for your excellence and your expertise. Greg is super knowledgeable, super educated, and just a delight to work with. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary Lou, for having me on today. Absolutely happy to work with everybody. We're working from the home office today, so excuse the lighting and the sweatshirt, but we're still open for business. We're still closing deals. People are still out there in the market shopping for homes. People are refinancing. So any of your real estate mortgage needs, I'm absolutely happy to help. You can reach me at 609-432-9919. Our office is in Egg Harbor Township, and my email is gmalamut@greentreemortgage.com.
If you found this information super helpful and you'd like to share, please do so, as we have a real expert here amongst us. So thank you again, and please share and reach out to Greg if you have any mortgage or finance questions. He is just an exception. Thank you.